This is the third time that this has happened to a head coach after a win against Mississippi State. So I
know, I saw that too. Isn't that kind of crazy?
The key to keeping your job is to lose to Mississippi State, I guess.
No,
I mean, that is the ultimate insult to Mississippi State, by the way. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Forever Power 5. I'm Nick DiMartino. That's Will Charlton. You can watch all Empty the Bench shows on youtube.com/ETB Network. You can listen to Forever Power 5 wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick DiMartino Will, at Will Charlton H13, and Zan at ZanBando99. You can follow the Empty the Bench Network across social media at ETB Network, and this podcast at FP5 ETB and at Forever Power 5 on TikTok, no caps or spaces. And this show is presented, and by the way, make sure to like and subscribe, YouTube, podcast, wherever you consume this show. And this show is presented by Playback. Stay tuned for later in the show to find out more. All right, so there was a few major upsets this week.
I'll say
Miami. The question
I couldn't believe this,
Miami
man. I could not believe this.
And the truth is, Miami is kind of in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they play in the ACC. Like that, they're not going to have that strong of a strength of record heading into. I mean, let's say they finished 11-1. They're not going to have that strong of a strength of record. They're really not. That's
not why they're in trouble. Ironically enough, they're in a lot of trouble for being in a weaker conference, the third strongest conference of the Power Four.
Mm-hmm.
Not for that not because their schedule is going to be weak, but because other teams that they're competing with are playing weak schedules. So if you look at the standings of the ACC right now, I'm not saying that they're the only team that's ever going to step in a landmine in some of these games. Obviously not. But if you look at the standings of and this is very much a product of the flawed scheduling in college football. But if you look at the standings in the ACC, you have Georgia Tech, Virginia, SMU, Pitt, Duke, Louisville, Cal, and Stanford. Well, not really Stanford. I'm not worried about Stanford, and I'm not worried about Cal. I'm not really that worried about
played 2 more conference games than Miami has already.
Yeah, but those first 5 teams that I mentioned, I think that they're going to be in a Miami plays SMU, so you don't really have to worry about them. Pitt is currently 3-1 in the conference. Well, let's just put it this way.
Is that who Miami finishes with, is Pitt?
Miami does play Pitt. So
I was going to say, I thought I saw it later on in the season. Yeah.
SMU, the teams you have to worry about are Virginia and Georgia Tech. And There's a strong possibility that neither of those teams end up losing a game. Georgia Tech is playing Syracuse this Saturday. They're 17.5-point favorites. Then they have no ranked teams left on their schedule except Georgia, and the Georgia game doesn't count. It's out of conference. And then Virginia, they're playing North Carolina this week. They're 10.5-point favorites. And then
Miami might not be the ACC championship game.
That's what I'm saying.
To say that. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying look, you never know.
I don't think that would keep them out, though. I don't think that would keep them out.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't keep them out. But it's not that Miami is in serious risk of missing out on the playoffs, but they are seriously in serious risk of missing out on the ACC championship game, which affects their seeding, which affects whether or not they host a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, if you enter the playoff at 11-1, a non-conference champion, you didn't even play in the conference championship game, you're going to be in that 10-12 range if you're lucky, I'd say. I mean, honestly, we'll have to have a discussion about this. Like, let's say, I don't know, hypothetically, like a Texas ends up going 10-2. They don't lose another game this year. And it's between them and 11-1 Miami. There's going to be a conversation there, and a lot of people are going to be unhappy regardless of the decision.
Well, in those scenarios, I think both those teams get in. Because I think Texas would. I think
I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, like if it were to come down to like a 10-2 SEC or a 10-2 Big Ten against an 11-1 Miami in the ACC, You know what I mean?
Actually, but the thing with Miami is that their schedule. The thing with Miami though is that, if Texas were to go 10-2, they would have to have a win against either Georgia or A&M.
They would have to win
actually,
both
that's
those
not
games.
true.
They'd have
They
to
would
win
have to
both
beat
those
both
games.
teams. They would have to win both games.
I was just throwing out an example. I don't think Texas is going to go 10-2. They're going to go 7-5 or 8-4. I was just saying,
right. I was thinking
as a hypothetical. Yeah.
Now Miami's schedule is not really all that difficult coming up, but Miami, in fairness, they do have a win against Florida State, which I still think is a fairly good win. I mean, I understand Florida State,
and they beat Miami, or they beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, exactly.
And Notre Dame's going to look like a better and better week as the season goes on, because Notre Dame's not going to lose another game this year.
Right, and that win looks better and better. So it's not like Miami has played like this really like little sisters of the poor schedule. Miami actually has some quality wins. Miami has some quality wins, but they're in serious risk of missing out on the ACC championship game if Georgia Tech or Virginia. And by the way, even if one of those teams loses a game, like who wins the tiebreaker in that case? Miami didn't play Virginia.
Yeah, I don't know what it would come down to. It would probably be common opponents, maybe like better common opponent record, I'd imagine. But even at that, Virginia already beat Louisville this year?
Yeah, that could be the case, and it certainly is possible that Virginia has the tiebreaker over Miami. Now, in that scenario, the question is, would all three of those ACC teams get in? And in that scenario, it really just depends on what on the stage that the playoff committee sets. That's really what it comes down to.
I don't see a world in which three ACC teams make it. Like I think that, and this is kind of really messed up, but let's say that Virginia and Georgia Tech do make the ACC title game. If it's not Georgia Tech that wins it, like if Virginia wins it, I think Georgia Tech might get left out, which is crazy to say.
I don't know. I think if Virginia loses,
I guess it depends if they beat Georgia. If Georgia Tech beats Georgia, does go undefeated into the ACC title game,
there's no way.
They're absolutely making it.
They'd have to.
But I'm saying if they lose that game to Georgia, I don't know if a 2-loss ACC team makes it. I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's not really a 2-loss team if you're losing in a game that
No.
Well, here's the thing. If the committee sets the stage, say Georgia Tech loses to Georgia, which they probably will. Don't be so sure, but they probably will. In that scenario, and you have a 1-loss Miami team and a 1-loss Georgia Tech team. If Georgia Tech is behind Miami at that point and they go to the ACC championship game and lose, then I think Miami gets in over Georgia Tech. But if Georgia Tech is ahead of Miami at that point and then they go to the ACC championship game and lose, they will not do that. It'll be like with SMU, like what happened with SMU last year.
Yeah, I mean, you can't punish a team for playing in a conference championship game. You just can't do that, especially if you're going to take a team who didn't play in the conference championship game and put them in instead of like Georgia Tech or Virginia.
Right.
Because there's certainly a world where Georgia Tech is undefeated in conference. Virginia enters with 1 loss and is undefeated in conference play. And I don't know. It's a big mystery because I mean Miami really kind of shot themselves in the foot by losing at home to Louisville. They really did, because I mean I can't imagine they'll lose any of the rest of these games. But then again, if Louisville beat them at home, Louisville's not amazing. I mean they're good, they're decent, but they're not amazing.
How is it? You know what, though? We see this all the time. Like, it's not the most uncommon thing in the world to see, like, teams that are much better lose at home to teams that they should be able to beat. Like, sometimes you get, like, these look-ahead games that happen. I mean, look, I'm old enough to remember.
I don't know what they're looking ahead to, though. Miami's not looking ahead to anything.
You're right. Well, yeah. But here's the thing, though. How is it that all the top teams in the ACC don't play each other? Like, there's got to be some design flaw going on here. I mean, I was looking at
ACC is weird, man.
the
It's really
standings
weird.
last year. Georgia Tech was a top 6 team last year. Miami
Mhm.
was one of the top teams in the ACC. Like, I think there needs to be some type of, now it's never going to be perfect, but there's got to be some type of formula where like the best, where you make it so that the best teams are actually playing each other in the conference. Like the ACC right now, Miami could end up getting screwed, but I think it's unlikely that Miami will be left out if they continue to play the way that they did against other top tier opponents. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more likely that they would set the state. Like, let's say Virginia goes undefeated. I think it certainly is possible that the committee will set it up so that Miami is ahead of Virginia going into the ACC championship game. Like, I don't think Miami's going to miss out on the playoffs unless they lose another game. But
yeah, I think it would take like a lot of weird factors to happen if Miami misses out because, I mean, I know for a fact that the committee is going to hate if they got to put 3 ACC teams in the playoff. They're going to despise that.
Yeah, well, because the ACC is a weak conference, and
it is. It's crazy top heavy, and that's it. Like you got the 3 teams up there, and I guess you might put Louisville up there now, maybe.
I don't know. No, I don't even know if it's really top heavy. I mean, the Big Ten is very top heavy. I wouldn't even say the ACC is all that top heavy. Like it's Miami. Realistically, the best team is Miami. I think realistically they're the best team, and then it's everybody else. Georgia Tech is good. I would say they're probably the second.
I think Georgia Tech's right there with them, man. Georgia Tech's good this year. They're solid. I mean, I know they don't have like the greatest resume of all time, and they're probably a little highly ranked for what they actually are, but they're undefeated. They've won games. They've proven they can win games. Obviously, the Clemson loss or win is looking not nearly as impressive as it could have, but you know.
My thing is, I don't think it's going to matter. I think Virginia's going to lose one of these games. I don't really think
it's a good veteran squad, though. They got a lot of seniors on that team.
I mean, look, Virginia almost lost to Washington State. I mean, I don't know.
Well, then again, Washington State barely lost to Ole Miss, so maybe I don't know. I don't really know what Wazoo's deal is.
Yeah, and they lost to NC State. Wait, did they lose NC State? Because it shows here that they're 3-0 in the conference, so I'm a little confused.
I was going to say that actually sounds right. Yeah, they did lose NC State. Yeah, no, that's wrong. They're
oh my god, the ESPN app is wrong. They
have one conference loss. Yeah, they lost NC State.
Or does that actually count as a non-conference game?
I don't know why it would.
Because they scheduled it. I've seen that before because I'm looking at the rest of their schedule. It's all ACC teams. So I actually think that was technically considered a non-conference game, even though it was a conference opponent.
Well, that wouldn't make any sense because they're ACC teams.
No, but you know what? I bet I could look this up.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, maybe it because they do play 8 other conference games. The ACC only plays an 8-game conference schedule.
No. The September 6, 2025 game between Virginia and NC State was not a conference game. It was designated non-conference because that does not count in the ACC standings. Both teams scheduled the game outside of the official ACC format to play each other sooner, as their next conference game would not have been for several years. So they literally lost in the ACC, but on a technicality, it doesn't count. That's unbelievable.
What the hell, man? Like, I would understand if that was like a situation with what was it, Baylor and Utah, I think it was. Because they were Big 12 teams, but that wasn't a conference game yet because they already scheduled it when Utah was in the Pac-12. So I get that. But this? I mean, those 2 teams have been in the ACC for forever.
Yeah, that's why I was so confused when I saw that.
What on earth?
It's unbelievable. By the way, like you can like schedule anybody in the country and you're scheduling in your own conference. That makes no sense at all. So
I'm dumbfounded right now. I can't believe this.
That's why I was so
the fact that Virginia might go undefeated in conference play, even though they didn't. Oh, this is hilarious. I mean, this is just objectively hilarious because Miami now with the one conference loss, if Virginia wins out, even though they have a loss in conference, they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god, this is hilarious, man.
Well, they played Coastal, William and Mary, and are they still playing 8 conference games?
The ACC plays 8.
Yeah, Washington State's non-conference. Okay, yeah, so 8.
Yeah.
So in fairness, even if that does count, even if you do count that in the ACC standings, they'd still be ahead of Miami regardless because they technically have a better record. But that still is kind
one
of
more
crazy.
win, yeah.
But
or
you know what, though?
Wins,
I don't think Virginia's just going to win out. Like, I think they're going to lose one of these games. I just don't think they're going to win out. I mean,
the one I could see them losing is the game at Cal or Duke for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Duke looks pretty good. I think I could see them losing to Duke. Duke is probably going to be favored in that game. So I think it's probably
going to be favored or Georgia Tech. Yeah, I'd assume they will be favored against Virginia.
Yeah. So in the SEC, I think the SEC is the most interesting conference in college.
So interesting.
Because anything can happen. I mean, there's such a dichotomy between the SEC and the Big Ten, which is how top heavy the Big Ten is. I mean, the Big Ten, Ohio State, who's at the top of the conference, played. Okay, so Texas A&M, the top of the SEC, arguably, played Arkansas, possibly the worst team in the SEC. And the spread of that game was 7.5. Imagine if Ohio State played Northwestern, who is just in the middle of the Big Ten, probably. The spread
27.5 points.
The spread would be 4 touchdowns, at least.
Yeah, 24.5, 27.5. No, the SEC is obviously talking about that game, Arkansas. What was the final score? 44-41 against Texas A&M?
45-42 it was.
Yeah.
Partly, in fairness, some of that was a garbage time touchdown. I actually bet on Arkansas plus 5.5 at halftime.
Nice cover.
Yeah, so I got
nice little backdoor for you.
I got a good backdoor cover.
No, it's just you look at these standings and. Right now, I mean, I can't look at these standings and say, yeah, that team's going to win the conference because there are 5 or 6 teams that I could see potentially winning it. I could see A&M winning it. I could see Bama winning it. I could see Georgia winning it. Hell, even Ole Miss played Georgia incredibly tough. I mean, I thought Ole Miss was a fraud because of what happened against Washington State and the fact that they played Kentucky, a struggling LSU, and Arkansas. But after what they did against Georgia, it's man, Ole Miss, I mean, they had the lead going in the fourth quarter by 2 scores.
Yeah.
It's Ole Miss is right there. I don't believe in Texas. I'm off that train. I was way too hyped up on them going into the season. I'm off that train. I think they're not that good.
But I think
Missouri's solid. Oklahoma, obviously, if Mateer's healthy, you never know. I
think it's very unlikely that Texas ends up. You know what? I think it's very unlikely with how good A&M and how far ahead Alabama and A&M are ahead of Texas for Texas to make the SEC championship game. Because they already they have one loss in the SEC and they were playing the easier half of their schedule. Now they have to go on the road and play Georgia and play at home against A&M. It's unlikely that they win both of those games, even if they split.
I see 2 losses personally.
Right. Even if they split those games, you're going to have to – I mean, you have Alabama who's undefeated, and they're playing the easier half of their schedule. I mean, the toughest team Alabama has to play going forward is it's probably Oklahoma at home, which Alabama will be favored. Then their schedule gets much easier. And I mean, at the very worst,
they're on the road this year in the Auburn Bowl or the Iron Bowl, aren't they? They go to Auburn. See, that's always a tough game too.
It is a tough game, and Auburn's played all these teams tough. But Alabama still, even if they lose one game, I mean, Texas most likely is going to have 2 losses in the SEC, and Georgia is probably not going to lose another. Maybe Georgia plays Texas, so depending on what happens there, I don't think Georgia's going to lose another game for the rest of the
Also,
season.
let's talk about the Commodores, man.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's looking legit.
They really are. And they're playing Texas. Their two toughest matchups coming up. Well, I don't know. I don't think they're going to end up. Look, they're a good story, but I don't think they're going to make the SEC championship game. I'm
not saying they're going to make the SEC title game. I'm just saying there's a path for them to be a 10-2 team and make the 12-team field.
Yeah, and
there absolutely is.
I think a lot of Big Ten fans are like hyping up the Big Ten and all that, and I do agree that the Big Ten is better at the top. Give me the Big Ten's top 4 teams over the SEC's top 4 teams, but everybody else, it's like the rest of the conference, the SEC is better. The SEC
I agree. Better. The SEC is better top to bottom for sure.
Top to bottom, the SEC is better.
Honestly, I would say Ohio State, Indiana. Honestly, I don't know if I would really include Oregon and or USC, Illinois. I guess that would be the 4A, 4B technically. Well, I guess Illinois beat USC, so you'd have to put Illinois at 4. But
no, not necessarily. But I would say, I mean, realistically, I think USC is probably a little better of a team than Illinois. But I would put Ohio State and Indiana at the top. And then I would put Oregon, USC right below that. And then below that is maybe Washington and Illinois. I think that would be the more accurate. That would be the most realistic way of putting it. And maybe those top 4 teams are better than the SEC's top 4 teams, which would be like A&M, Alabama, Georgia, maybe Ole Miss or Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee's a top 4 team in the SEC. But yeah, in general, like top to bottom, it's definitely the SEC that's been the better conference this year.
Even talk about top to bottom, Kentucky's bad, and they almost beat Texas.
Yeah, the bottom teams are almost beating the top teams. Although I think Kentucky's a tough. They also came close to. They also kept it close against Ole Miss. I think Kentucky is a sort of a scrappy team. They're not a good team, but they're a scrappy team. I guess that's all the bottom teams of the SEC. I mean, Auburn's a little bit like that too. Florida's a little bit like that. I mean, they're not good, but they're scrappy. And I mean, the thing with Texas is that Kentucky, when they're getting blown out on the road. But at home, they haven't. At home, Kentucky hasn't been blown out in any way. But the thing with Texas is the Texas-Kentucky game is that Texas isn't blowing anybody out. They were overhyped going into the season, clearly, and
way too overhyped.
Yeah, way overhyped, and they're not winning these games by a lot at all. I mean, none of their wins outside of maybe Oklahoma is really all that impressive. And there's all sorts of scenarios that could happen. And Texas, I still think, could be a playoff team, even if they don't make it to the SEC championship game. I
don't see a world in which Texas is a playoff team anymore. I just don't look at the rest of the schedule. No.
I'm not saying they control their own destiny, but there are scenarios in which they can be a playoff team. And the first thing,
they got to win out.
Yes,
they already got 2 losses.
A
9-3 Texas team is not making the field.
The first thing, though, here's the thing: they're probably going to have to win out. But the first thing that needs to happen is Ole Miss needs to lose to Oklahoma, and if Ole Miss loses to Oklahoma, they're not going to have a very good resume. Ole Miss's best win will be against LSU. And as we all know, LSU is not that great of a win. It's not terrible, nothing to sneeze at, but it's not a great win.
I'm not a crazy believer in LSU.
No. But if you get a 9-3 Texas team versus a 10-2 Ole Miss team, I think the 9-3 Texas team could end up getting in over the 10-2 Ole Miss team, because if you look at Ole Miss's,
are we saying Ohio State on the road is a quote unquote good loss then?
Yeah, I would say.
I think that's what you have to say then.
But the thing is, here's the thing: one of their losses was a non-conference loss against a Power 4 team, the number 1 team in the country. Ole Miss's non-conference schedule included Georgia State, Tulane, and the Citadel.
And then Washington State.
And Washington State.
Yeah.
So those, because they haven't moved on to 9 conference games yet. So Georgia State, Tulane, Washington State, and the Citadel is their non-conference, as opposed to Texas playing Ohio State in their non-conference, losing one of those games. Not to mention the fact they'd have a better resume in the SEC, believe it or not.
It also depends how that Florida loss ages. It really does.
By the way, yeah,
because that could either become an okay loss, or it could turn into like, okay, that was a bad loss.
Yeah. I mean, Ole Miss.
It just depends. Florida's 3-4 now. You just have no idea how the rest of the season Florida's going to go now. And I know we're going to talk about Billy Napier being fired here in a minute, but
here's the thing, though. Unquestionably, Ole Miss would be playing a stronger schedule. I mean, the best team Ole Miss played is Georgia. Texas plays Georgia, and on top of that, they also play A&M. So Ole Miss's schedule certainly would not have been as strong. I mean, they did play LSU. I guess that's one of the bet, but it's certainly not as good as playing A&M. And if Texas wins one of those games, or even if they lose, what am I saying? In this scenario, if they win one of those games, that's a better win than any of Ole Miss's wins. So, Texas, they beat Oklahoma really good. That's by far their best win. But if Ole Miss ends up beating Oklahoma, I think it's much, much harder for Texas to get into the playoff. But in that scenario, I think Alabama, Georgia would be ahead of them. Ole Miss would be ahead of them. A&M would be ahead of them. The SEC would have to get 5 teams from the conference, which, by the way, is possible. But looking at everything that's going on in the ACC right now, that might be difficult to do. Georgia Tech might not lose a game. You get Georgia Tech and Miami in the ACC championship game, which I think is the most likely scenario. The committee's not going to punish one of them, especially not Georgia Tech, if they lose in the ACC championship game.
And then obviously you got Virginia too, which you were talking about.
Yeah.
So there's a
like
lot of
SMU last year, and look, SMU. I don't think it was really a great team, but
I just don't think that there's going to be any more than 4 teams in a conference to make 12-team field, because if you put 5 SEC teams in, that only leaves 7 between. That only leaves 6 between the Big 10, Big 12, and ACC.
Well, here's the thing. I think that the Big 10. I think you can make the case for the Big 10 to get 3 teams. Most likely, Ohio State.
Depends if a USC or an Illinois wins out from this point on.
Maybe USC, but USC has to play Oregon. So
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that could almost be like a pseudo elimination game for those 2 teams.
But then most likely 2 from the ACC, probably going to be Georgia Tech and Miami. So that's 5. 1 Big 12 team and 1 at-large bid. By the way, I hate that there's an automatic at-large bid. Well, wait, because it has to be a non-Power 4 school, right?
Yeah, it's a group. So it'll be South Florida more than likely.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the idea of putting a group of 5 school in. But every year, I don't think there's always a group of 5 school that is realistically a top 12 team. And I think this is going to be proven. I mean, you get the 2017 UCF team, maybe last year's Boise State team. Those would maybe be the best examples. And how did Boise State look when they got to the playoffs? They really weren't all that great. So I don't like
awful, but yeah, Penn State.
But I just don't. I'm not opposed to having a group of 5 team, but I don't like the whole automatically we have to have a spot. We have to save a spot for.
You're never going to get the best 12 teams in this. That's the thing. You never will.
No,
you never will, because realistically, you should be putting 7 or 8 SEC teams in the field.
Right, and my thing is, I want to see the best teams. That's what I want to see. The problem with the college basketball tournament is that there's so many teams. Realistically, everybody knows it is not the 68 best teams that are getting into the NCAA tournament. It's really there's probably a team that's worse than the 100th best team in the country that's making to the NCAA tournament.
Well, because you'll get those random 5 or 6 seeds in those really small conferences go on crazy runs and win their conference tournament. They become a 16 or 15 seed.
Right. I mean, the difference between college football and college basketball is that in basketball, you can get an upset a lot more easily than in football. I mean, in football, it's just the rosters are bigger. And I think the talent gap between, say, a Boise State and Alabama is so much bigger in football than it is in basketball. Like in basketball, it's just sort of like anything can happen and it creates these great Cinderella stories. Football's a different sport. That could never really happen to the same degree in football.
Yeah, no, it can't. It's just there's much more of a talent gap in football.
Yeah, like a lot of times people try to screw like a college basketball screw, try to fit a college basketball screw into a college football hole, and it's like
it's not going to work.
It's a totally, it's just a totally different sport. I do want to talk about Florida firing Billy Napier. And this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen because they fired him after a win. And that was super weird to me. But then actually I looked it up, and this is not the first time that this happened. And actually in the past 5 years, this is the third time that this has happened to a head coach after a win against Mississippi State. So I know
I saw that too. Isn't that kind of crazy?
The key to keeping your job is to lose to Mississippi State, I guess.
No,
I mean, that is the ultimate insult to Mississippi State, by the way. That beating them is grounds for getting fired.
But the thing is, like, there was a lot of trending talk that Billy Napier was going to be fired before the game happened. Like, it was going to happen after this week. So I don't think whatever happened in the game had a say of what was going to happen to his job. Right. Because they were already talking like this is probably his last week. Like, there was a lot of talk on like On3 on Twitter and stuff like that. There was like a lot of trending buzz that Billy Napier is going to be fired after this week, regardless of what happens in Saturday's game. And granted, Florida won. Yeah, they shouldn't have, but they did because Blake Shapen threw a bad interception at the end of the game. Yeah. But I thought that it was pretty interesting that the fact that apparently beating Mississippi State is what gets your coach fired. But no matter what, for the third time in 5 years or whatever it was. But I think that Florida is in a really odd spot now because, and I was talking about this on Monday, they have to go out and hire someone who has been proven at the Power 4 level.
Yeah.
I know that Lane Kiffin is apparently a trending name for them. I don't really see that being an option personally. But I guess at the end of the day, money talks, and we talk about all the time how disloyal college football coaches are.
Yeah. Do you think he would leave Ole Miss to go to Florida though? Is Florida like
that's what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see that happening.
I mean, look, maybe it's because Florida just can never hire the right head coach. That could be it. But Florida is a little bit like the Nebraska of the SEC. Like
that's such a good way to say it.
They never really just get it right.
Way to say it.
Like they go through this revolving door of head coaches that make the team kind of okay, and sometimes they're really bad, but they can never beat anybody good. Like it's exactly like Nebraska of the SEC. The only difference is that it makes more sense with Nebraska because Nebraska is not in a region of the country that is very good for recruiting talent, whereas Florida is in the best region of the country for recruiting talent. I guess it has a lot to do with the fact that, they're getting beat out by all of the other schools in that region. And they can never really get it right, Florida. To me, it's like Nebraska.
They haven't had it right since Urban Meyer.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska and Florida are kind of like that spot you see in a strip mall that has a new store every 6 months and everybody just goes out of business. That's what Nebraska and Florida are. Dying business location. And I don't know who they're going to hire. I mean, James Franklin's available.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if they would have hired James
I could very well see that, honestly. I could totally see that because, like, obviously, I know that this year wasn't that good for Penn State when James Franklin was there. They started 3-0. They were winning 24-17 in overtime against Oregon, and now the whole season's derailed because they're now 3-4. But it's not like James Franklin isn't a really good coach. Yeah, he knows how to recruit very well. I think he would do well at a program like Florida. I really do. Obviously, I'm sure you saw the interview on College Game Day this past week that he had with.
I actually did. Right? I heard about it, but
he was saying that we're going to go win national championships elsewhere, and I'm really excited to coach again.
I hope he does.
Florida, give the man a ring.
I think that James Franklin, in a weird way, James Franklin's an underrated coach, and the reason he's an underrated coach is because he keeps losing the big games. But the odd thing is that I think he might be rated higher if he didn't make it to those big games. Like, that's the weird thing. Like, of course, he's not a top tier head coach. He's not a Saban, an Urban, a Harbaugh, or anything like that. But like, it is funny to me that like he is sort of viewed in a worse light for making big games and losing them than not making them at all.
Like the fact that you can consider going like 10-2 every year, besides obviously this year, for like the past, I don't know, however long he was the coach. I mean, it felt like they were 9-3 or 10-2 every year.
2014. And the interesting thing is that, like, look, Penn State is a program. Penn State and Florida are programs with standards. Nebraska has standards, but there are some programs that really are just satisfied with eternal mediocrity. If you look at a team like Kentucky, win 7 games and you're good. Like, you barely even have to have a winning record in the conference in order
That's why Mark Stoops been the coach there for as long as he has.
Right, in order to keep your job. Same thing with Iowa. Kirk Ferentz has been the head coach since 1999.
Yeah.
I mean, Iowa is in a permanent state of mediocrity under Kirk Ferentz, and they're just cool with that. Like, for my entire life, Iowa's been all defense, no offense, and the best season they had was in 2015, where they
always had the best punter in the country,
and they played the easiest schedule. They played like their schedule,
the Big Ten West schedule,
the poor.
Big Ten West schedule.
Like it is just funny to me to see the dichotomy between these programs, and without question, Penn State was better under Franklin than Iowa was under Ferentz, but Ferentz has been there since 1999. Like, a kid born the year Kirk Ferentz started coaching is off of his parents' health insurance. That's how long Kirk Ferentz has been the head coach at Iowa. That's why it's just so funny to me to see the difference.
Hey fans, Novig is here to change the way you play. Available in 35 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and New York, Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market, and it's 10 times more profitable than traditional sports books because there's no house edge. Instead, you're betting directly against other sports fans just like yourself. Novig is also the only free exchange, which means you keep every dollar you win, whether you're putting plays down on the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, college sports, or even UFC and tennis. Novig gives you the power to pick the best odds, or better yet, set your own. Sign up today with the code ETB Network, and you'll get 1,000 Novig coins plus $5 in Novig cash, and special bonus offers like spending $5 and getting $50 back. Novig, where fans play smarter. You must be 21 years or older to play. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Forever Power 5 is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show.
Let's get into some picks. Forever Power 5 odds are presented by Novig. Ole Miss at Oklahoma, -4.5. Over-under is 54.5. I like Ole Miss here a lot. I don't know how much I believe in Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is a little bit too quarterback reliant, a little bit too Mateer reliant. And if John Mateer's having an off night, I think it's going to be very tough. And I don't know if any of Oklahoma's wins were really all that good. I mean, the #1 team that tested them was Texas. And they lost by a lot to a Texas team that really hasn't beaten anybody by a whole lot. Like, I don't know, maybe if a couple of calls went a different way, Auburn wins that game against Oklahoma. I am not a big Oklahoma believer right now. And also, John Mateer post-surgery, is he 100%? None of us really know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Ole Miss plus that 4.5. Oklahoma might still win the game outright, but I just don't think that it's going to be by any more than like a field goal if they do. I think Ole Miss, Ole Miss is really confusing because I wonder if they're like a team who like plays down. I mean, maybe they're just looking ahead to the Georgia game last week when they played Washington State, and they were just like, "Oh, we got a team who lost to North Texas by 50 coming in or whatever it was." We're not going to worry about them. They were looking ahead to Georgia. I think Ole Miss
they barely beat Washington State. No. Here's the interesting thing. I think Ole Miss. I think they're scared. I think Ole Miss is not like I wasn't too big on them. Their schedule. I think they were inflated by an LSU win, and LSU was inflated by a Clemson win. And now, knowing what we now know about Clemson, and what we now know about LSU, like it's just is not like the LSU win just doesn't look that good anymore.
No,
and Ole Miss has not really played. Like, they haven't really played well. I mean, their best performance was probably their loss against Georgia. That was probably the most impressive.
It was.
But at the same time, I don't think the flip side of that is I don't think most other teams could have done to Georgia what Ole Miss did. There's no way LSU would have given Georgia a run for their money in their own stadium like that. Like, I just don't think that would have happened.
I agree. Yeah. No, so I like the Rebels here. I think that Chambliss has been a really solid quarterback for them this season. I think they're gonna be able to win this game. I like the under here too. I think Oklahoma's got a solid defense, but I expect this to be a relatively lower scoring game than last weekend was. And I mean, Georgia's been in some shootouts. Oklahoma has not. So I think that this game's going to be relatively more defensive than offensive, but I think Ole Miss is going to make a few more plays and win this game outright.
I think that if this game is more offensive, Ole Miss is more likely to win.
Yes,
and if it's more defensive, I think Oklahoma is more likely to win. Look, Ole Miss is very good at winning shootouts. I mean, I know they didn't beat Georgia, but Georgia's a tough team to beat regardless. I think Ole Miss would be better at beating a shootout, getting into a shoot. I mean, look, Ole Miss is an offensive team. They're not a defensive team.
They are. Yeah, they are.
They're definitely an offensive team. I don't think this – I disagree. I don't think this game is going to be a defensive game. I think it's going to be an offensive game, and that's why I think that's why I like Ole Miss plus the 4.5. Missouri at Vanderbilt minus 2.5. I got to go with Mizzou here. I kind of like Mizzou. I think this is and it's not an anti-Vanderbilt thing at all. I just think Missouri looks pretty good. I really think they look pretty good. I mean, they almost beat Alabama. Like, you know, I think Vanderbilt's a good team. Don't get me wrong. They're a good team. But I think Missouri just looks a little better.
Yeah, give me Vandy in a shootout. I like the Commodores, man. I'm all in. I'm all in on Diego Papi and the boys. I'm all in on the Vandy boys.
This is Vegas telling you these teams are equal.
Yeah, no, totally. I think I like Vandy here. I think that it's going to be a relatively similar game to LSU last week for Vanderbilt. Missouri is good. Don't get me wrong, but and I definitely could see them winning this game. But I like Vanderbilt here. I think that Vandy's just a really cool story. Diego Pavia is playing out of his mind this season. I like Vandy to keep rolling, man. Vandy, like the over.
All right. Oh, by the way, the line. Let me change that. By the way, the line is up to 5.5 in the Ole Miss Oklahoma game. For the record.
Okay, so yeah. Also, Zan picked Ole Miss to cover, and he did not give a pick for this game.
For Missouri Vanderbilt?
No, he did not.
All right.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He's just taking the under in this game. He's just taking the under.
Texas is giving, because the problem with preparing for the show is that sometimes the lines change ever so slightly at this point in the week.
Right.
Texas is now giving, according to Novig, wow, it's changed, 7.5. Although the odds are it's plus 101, so it's very uneven. But okay, 7.5 at
so it probably is still realistically minus 6.5 then.
Yeah, I don't know what we should do. Which we should go with 7.5, 6.5, whatever.
I mean, whatever Novig says is what we should.
Whatever Novig says, but it's plus 101. So I'm just going with Novig 7.5. Over under is 44.5. I really, really like Mississippi State here, and I like them plus 6.5 too.
So
Texas
do I.
is not winning these games by a lot. The theme of these SEC teams is that the favorite going on the road to play the underdog, take the underdog, which is because all the bad teams in the SEC this year are not that bad.
No.
And I like the under because all of these Texas games are slugfests, it seems like.
Yeah. I am doing the exact same picks. Yeah, I think that Mississippi State's a real solid team. They played Tennessee as tough as they possibly could earlier in the year at home, and they were able to barely lose that game. They lost in overtime, double overtime, I think. And I think that Mississippi State is a real solid squad. I mean, they know how to play teams really tough. I'm not saying they're a great team because they're not, but they just know how to play teams really, really tough. And they've had a solid year after being one of the worst teams in Power 4 last year. So yeah, I like Blake Shapen and the boys to cover the spread. And I am just like you going to take the under. I could very well see this final score being like 20-17 or something like that.
Yeah.
And Zan is going Texas -6.5.
All right. Cool. Thanks for reading Zan's.
Yeah.
Because I keep forgetting. All right. Alabama -11. By the way, all SEC games so far.
Yeah. They always mean a lot. It just means more, right?
You know?
It just means more.
Alabama.
Forever Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah, Alabama. And I'm going to run for Senate too.
There you go.
Alabama -11.5 at South Carolina. This is, I guess, the one exception is I love Alabama here minus the 11.5. I think they could look like the best team in the country so far. Ty Simpson looks like he could be the best quarterback in the country. I think Alabama wins by 2 touchdowns or more.
You know, it's so funny that week 1 feels like it was a different year at this point with how much Alabama looked.
It's like that every year.
Like how different. I know. It's just like, it's so funny that Florida State is now not good and Alabama's looking at the best team in the country. Or looking like one of the best teams in the country. I don't think I'll say best team, but give me Bama minus 11.5. I think they cover that pretty easily. I'm not too worried about it. I think South Carolina, I don't know what happened over the offseason for the South Carolina team. They returned essentially almost all their players from last year that won 9 games. I don't know what happened to them, but I know they've been dealing with injuries here and there. Alabama should probably cover this easily. I just think they're too big, too strong, too fast, too physical. Ty Simpson's going to light up the South Carolina defense that struggled a lot this year too. So Alabama and taking the over. And then Zan for this game, he is going with Alabama minus 11.5.
Okay.
So we're all in agreement.
Texas A&M minus 2.5 at LSU. Over under is 47.5. I love A&M here. I think that Texas A&M will struggle. Death Valley is a tough place to play at night. Don't get me wrong. But A&M is just a substantially better team, especially on offense. And they're an offensive team, but they're also very good on defense situationally. They're a really, really good third down defense. And LSU has been struggling to move the ball. The reporter asked Brian Kelly why you can't run the ball. He still can't run the ball. I mean, He couldn't move the ball against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss's defense is terrible. I wouldn't say terrible, but, average, not great. And I like A&M because it's just a pick 'em, basically. I'm picking a winner outright in this game. So I like A&M minus 2.5 here. And Nussmeier is a little sus. I call him Sussmeier. Like he's a little bit sus in these games. Like sometimes sometimes they just kind of fall apart. Yeah.
No, I'm with you. This is going to be a shootout, I think. And if you're in a shootout, I trust A&M more. A&M's offense has been so high powered. Mike Elko has done such a phenomenal job with this program so far. Only in his second year, he's led Texas A&M to their first 7-0 record since 1970 something. I think it was. It was sometime in the 1970s, I think. This feels like it's the year that A&M finally breaks through after all these years of finishing 8-4. Marcel Reed is leading a really high-powered offense right now. They got great weapons. They've proven they can win in shootouts. They've proven they can win in tough road environments because they beat Notre Dame on the road. So yeah, I don't see why they can't do it again. I'm not a big believer in LSU. So I like A&M here, and I like a shootout over. And Zan is going he's going LSU plus 2.5.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Michigan State at Michigan. I think it's still minus 14.5.
Regardless of what the spread is, give me Michigan all day long. At home, I don't care what the spread
still
is. They're going to kill. They're going to annihilate Michigan State.
No. I'm sorry. I made a mistake. It's Michigan at Michigan State.
regardless, I don't think that matters.
Well, hold on. So yeah, I screwed that up. I always screw up a banner. All right. So yeah, Michigan at Michigan State. Michigan is giving 14.5 at Michigan State. Okay, there you go.
I'm
That's
still
right.
on board on Michigan. I'm still on board on Michigan here. Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm like, it could be close for a bit, but Michigan's got the better team.
That hook scares. No, they do, but the hook.
That hook is scary. That hook is scary for sure. It is. But
here's
I don't know.
Michigan has.
I just don't think Michigan State's gonna be able to score on them. That's the thing. I just don't think Michigan State's offense gonna be able to score on them.
I think Michigan State. The funny thing is,
they couldn't score on UCLA, they're not going to score on Michigan.
The funny thing is that I was getting gas the other night, and I guess at gas stations they have like advertisements on the screens now, and there was an advertisement where Sharon Moore actually showed up. It was an advertisement for Big Ten kickoff, and Sharon Moore just shows up watching me get gas, and from that point forward, I was like, I'm all on Michigan State. No, that's not it. I was on Michigan State all week. Here's the thing. Michigan is I think Michigan is a little bit like what USC was last year. They're very much a growing pain type of team. They're a very good team at home. They haven't played on the road much. They played 3 games on the road, and they haven't been impressive. They lost. They haven't been very impressive on the road. They barely beat Nebraska. They got killed by USC. They lost by a lot to Oklahoma. And I just don't know if I trust Michigan as a road team very much right now, not to mention the fact the other equalizer is it's a rivalry game. It's like the Iron Bowl. Michigan State always shows up for these games. Now, I'm not saying Michigan State is going to win outright. They're not a very impressive team, but I just think they're going to show up for this game. And I think they'll keep it within the 14.5. That's what I think will probably happen.
Gotcha.
Who did Zan take?
He's going Michigan minus 14.5. I'm also on the under here.
All right. Illinois at Washington minus 4.5. I like Washington here minus the 4.5. Washington is a really tough place to play. Mm-hmm. It's underrated how tough of a place Washington is to play. And I think Washington covers the spread. I think they win by 1 touchdown or more.
Illinois is a very good team off a bye week. They're 6-1 under Brett Bielema since he became the coach off a bye week. So I think that this is going to be a game where Illinois realizes that they just got punched in the mouth and they shot themselves in the foot way too much against Ohio State. They had potential to be in that game. I'm not going to say they would have won it, but Illinois had potential to be in that game against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Washington is a very, very tough place to play. Don't get me wrong. I acknowledge that. And I agree with you 100%. They won 24 some odd home games in a row until Ohio State came to visit them this year. I think Illinois covers the spread though. I think Illinois knows that they control their own destiny to go 10-2 and potentially make the college football playoff. Washington, I don't know if I'm fully sold on them just because of the fact that they're a very good team at home. But I'm like away from home, they're not that impressive. They're really not. What they've done, obviously, I know like the home environment is much. So I know, and obviously that's going to add a big factor to this game, and Illinois has to travel and whatnot to get there. But I think the Illini cover the spread because Illinois had a week to rest up, a week to get healthy. They know what's in front of them. This is the last game they're going to be an underdog this year. Illinois, I think they're going to cover the spread. I'm not saying they're going to win outright, but I could see this being within a field goal either way. Okay. I think my final score prediction is 23-20 for the winner. I don't know who I'm going to pick to win it. I'd probably say Washington just because I think that Washington's a really tough place to play. But I like Illinois to cover the spread, and I'm going to go with the under here. Zan is also picking Illinois to cover.
All right. So finally, BYU at Iowa State. This is tough.
It's a really tough one.
Because it's basically just to pick them. I think I like Iowa State here. I'm just going with the home team in this case. I think I'm going to go with Iowa State. BYU, I mean, BYU is undefeated. I think they're kind of due. I kind of think they're due for a loss.
It does feel like the week they beat Duke, doesn't it? It really does.
I mean,
because Iowa State's still a solid team. I know they have some confusing losses, but they are still a solid team.
Yeah, they. I mean, Iowa State. I mean, they lost. Their 2 losses were on the road. They haven't lost at home yet. BYU's played a couple of road games. They haven't really been all that impressive. I mean, they needed overtime to beat Arizona, and they barely beat Colorado. I think Iowa State wins this out. I think Iowa State wins this outright.
I'm going to pick Iowa State here too. I think that BYU is a.
Did I screw this up? Hold on. I think I may have made because according to ESPN, it may have the line may have actually shifted a little bit. BYU is getting the 2.5. I screwed that up again. I'm sorry.
See, that actually makes more sense. I was kind of shocked to see BYU was a road favorite. Iowa State.
Either way, it's a pick 'em either way. Iowa State has to do 2.5.
I'm still on Iowa State too. I think that they just got enough playmakers to win this game. Bear Bachmeier is doing a good job as a true freshman quarterback. BYU just hasn't really been challenged. Granted, they had a good win against Utah this past week. They won the Holy War, but I think I'm confident enough to pick Iowa State at home here. Give me a shootout though. Give me a shootout, a big, good old-fashioned Big 12 shootout. So I'll take Iowa State. I'll take the over. Zan is playing more conservative, just going the over in this one.
Okay. Oh, by the way, if you want to hear our records, you're 31, 34, and 1. I'm 27 and 27, and Zan is 25 and 29. So basically, the show is under 50%. So fade us. Well, not me, but everybody else.
I was doing good up until last week. I kind of had a collapse last week.
All right. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. That's our show this week. I'm Nick DiMartino. That's Will Charlton. We'll see you guys next week. It's been Forever Power 5.